to go ahead and start actually by explaining, first of all, I owe you all an apology for missing last Wednesday's class. It was nothing that I ever anticipated. In fact, in the 3 years that I've been back teaching, I have never missed a class. I've never even been late to school. I have been actually late to a class. That's because I was tied up at the other class on my way there. So, what happened was, the Wednesday we last met, the following morning on Thursday, a dear friend of mine passed away. And these services were scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday of the following week, Wednesday being, of course, our last day of class. So if you guys will remember, we talked about forced dichotomies and false dilemmas. And in every case, for purposes of argumentation, every false dilemma is a forced dichotomy. But this is an example that every forced dichotomy is not a false dilemma. Because I was faced with two scenarios. Either I go to the services of someone that I loved very much, and I would miss a day of work and miss our assignment that I was really looking forward to sharing with you guys. Or if I chose to come here, I would miss the services for someone that was very close to me. So I had a choice to make, and even though I'm sorry I missed the class, I don't regret my decision. I needed to be at those services, and I hope you will all understand. That said, none of you are going to be penalized because of my personal schedule. So what I've done is we're just deleting those 50 points from the total points available. So no harm, no foul. Instead of 1,000 points for the semester, it's 950. So you will neither get any advantage or disadvantage from missing the MLK assignment. That said, I strongly encourage all of you guys to take the time not only to read the actual speech, and it's posted on my website, but also listen to it on AmericanRhetoric.com or through whatever online service. I'm sure there's multiple where you can find it. And given the tools that you guys are now armed with about persuasion, about understanding analogy and metaphor and simile, and then all the other things that he employs so brilliantly, like cadence and inflection and tone and tempo, all of that stuff. Listen to what this man was capable of doing as a persuasive speaker. And keep in mind that though none of us is going to be Dr. King, every single one of us can employ some of the tools that he demonstrated for us. And that's what it is in large part about. In addition to that, there's something else about Dr. King's speech and the conversation that we would have had when discussing it, and I give you a quiz. And I'm going to put it in a little nutshell because we don't have time right now. But essentially, what I wanted you all to recognize is ultimately the message of Dr. King's speech. His call to action for all of us as a persuasive speech was one of to embrace the idea of cooperating with one another, to collaborate, to work together, even with the very people that have traditionally may have been your oppressors. And the reason I think that message is so important today, as it was then, is that we live in a society right now where we are hyper-focused on identity politics. It's all about what group you're in that differentiates you from everyone else. Gender, gender identity, race, ethnicity, theology, creed, sexual orientation, and I am not discounting the value of those identity subgroups, but what I want you all to remember is that this highly divisive environment we live in, I believe, as Dr. King believed, that we have much more in common to celebrate than we have to lament that makes us different. As a matter of fact, that same year, the same decade, John F. Kennedy was giving his commencement address at American University in Washington, D.C. This was in June, literally a few months before he would be assassinated. And he was trying to call attention to the very message that Dr. King was, about the fact that as a world community, we have more in common. Keep in mind, this was the Cold War. There was the specter of nuclear war that we all lived with, both here in the United States and in Russia. And John F. Kennedy reminded us during the speech of what the commonalities are and how important they are when he said that we all inhabit this planet, we all breathe the same air, we all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal. And that was his way of reminding us exactly what Dr. King's message was in different words, that we have more in common. I would like for you guys to take that message from this class as one of the things that you look back on and rely on when we are immersed in such divisive identity politics. All right, moving on. That was the abridged version of the Dr. King discussion, of which you guys didn't even get to discuss, and I regret that. But today we're faced with two assignments. First, I'm going to give a little lecture, and I'll explain what that is in a minute. And then you're going to take your final. During your final, I will hand out all of the last assignments. I've graded everything. We're all up to speed, and I will drop them by at your table. I endeavor to have your grades posted by tomorrow evening. Don't get angry at me if it pushes into Friday, but my goal is to get this done. I just have to get these tests graded and then total the scores. If you have any questions, you're welcome to email. Otherwise, you should have your grades at the very latest by Friday morning posted on the web advisor through Norco. Any questions? Yes?
Do you primarily use your college email or your personal email?
I use both, but if you want to get a hold of me quicker, use my personal email. My personal email goes to my cell phone, whereas the college emails I don't check. I don't have them go into my phone. I have to check them manually a couple times a day. And during the summer, not even that often. So, and you're all welcome to use the personal email. All right, moving on. If you remember, I may have made reference to it very early on in the semester, and it's certainly in your syllabus, that at the end of the semester, that I would share with all of you the secret of life. Well, one of the reasons that one of the reasons that I wait till the end of the semester is because you guys need to have earned the right to know this. Earn the right to have this knowledge in your repertoire of tools to face life with. And I need to earn the credibility to make it worth listening to. And after a semester together, I feel that both of those benchmarks have been achieved. And that is why I am going to share with you now the secret of life. Now, before we move on, there's a little caveat that I'd like to stipulate to. I am literally going to be making reference to the giants of philosophy like Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, Confucius. And I am not making any excuses about the fact that I am suggesting that my view of the world and the wisdom that I'm about to impart to you is on par, on level with those same giants of philosophy. So I want to go ahead and stipulate to the fact that I'm aware of the disparity in the gravitas here. These giants we recognize with a single name. For me, you need 3 names, a zip code, a social security number, and a blood type for people to know who I am. Middle-aged, Latino, junior college professor. I get that, but what I want you guys to entertain is the idea that just because that may be true does not necessarily undermine the veracity of the wisdom that I'm about to impart. The Secret of Life by Derek A. Romo. You have to be smarter than the pointer. Boom. In the beginning, we're going way back now. In the very beginning, human beings didn't have a lot of time to think about self-awareness or to contemplate their role in life or the meaning or any of that stuff. We were just sort of concerned with surviving, not being food, and getting food. Basic survival. I want you to remember the term basic survival. Food, shelter, procreation. Who knows what procreation means? Having children. Making babies. Thank you, Austin. Exactly. That's all we were concerned with. But at some point, we had the self-awareness to begin to ponder these questions. Why am I here? Trying to understand our world and our role in it, to assign meaning. What and why? There has to be some purpose behind all this, right? There has to be some meaning to this life, this little finite, tiny journey that each of us is allowed on this planet. In the cosmos, it's a tiny little speck of time. And there has to be some meaning to it, besides just the basic survival, right? Besides just the food, the shelter, the procreation. There must be something. And why don't we know? I mean, somebody has to know. I mean, throughout history, human beings have been contemplating the issues and self-awareness of why we are here. What's the meaning of life? Philosophers, explorers have gone in to seek out the meaning of life. And to me, and when I thought about it, I thought to myself, over all those generations of brilliant people trying to figure out what the meaning of life is, somebody had to know. Somebody had to figure it out. But they're not sharing it with the rest
Because most